Why don't eggs tell jokes? They'd crack each other up. Today, I'm going to recap a 2014 action thriller film called Taken 3. A quick warning, there will be major spoilers ahead. Two Russian thugs enter a man's home and quietly take him away, unknown to his wife. They take him to meet a Russian mob boss, Oleg Malenkov, who demands that the man open the nearby safe. The safe is empty. Malenkov calls someone, explaining he has come to collect his debt, and since the money is not here, he will leave him something else. Malenkov puts the man in the safe and kills him. Brian Mills buys a giant panda bear for his daughter Kim's birthday. At home, Kim holds up a pregnancy test and looks at it worriedly. Brian shows up with the panda, followed moments later by Kim's boyfriend Jamie. Kim comments that Brian is predictable, while Jamie says Kim is as well, since she follows the same routine and goes to the convenience store to get the exact same orange smoothie drink from the exact same position. Brian departs and takes the panda with him, even though Kim admits to feeling a bit bad about not wanting it. After he leaves, Brian talks to his ex-wife Lenore on the phone about Kim. He invites her over to dinner, but she declines. Lenny surprises Brian by showing up at his place while he's making dinner. She tells him that she's not very happy at home with her husband Stuart. She makes a pass at Brian by kissing him. Tempted, he tells her she should sort her problems with her husband first. During a game of golf with his friends, Brian gets a call from Kim, and she invites him to meet with her at a diner. She prepares to tell him about her pregnancy when they see a bratty child making a fuss at another table. Kim gets nervous and tells Brian she wants his advice on whether or not she should get a puppy. Stuart visits Brian at his apartment. Stuart says he thinks Brian is having sex with Lenny. When Brian insists he is not, Stuart demands that Brian stop seeing Lenny socially. Brian agrees, assuring Stuart that they're only friends and that there is nothing going on between them. Brian gets a text from Lenny asking him to meet her at his apartment for some bagels. Brian gets the bagels and returns to find a bloody knife on the floor. He unwittingly picks it up and finds Lenore dead on his bed with her throat slashes. As Brian recoils in shock, two policemen burst in with guns drawn. They prepare to handcuff him, but fail to secure him properly beforehand. Brian attacks and handcuffs both of them. He jumps out the window as he hears more cops coming. They chase him through the streets until he runs into a garage and escapes through a hatched door into the river and out to the basin. Brian calls Kim from a payphone, while she is at Lenny's home looking for a sweater. He breaks the news to Kim about her mother's murder and that he is now being framed. He tells her to stay safe and that he will protect her. Kim steps back in shock and sits down to cry. Hot on Brian's trail is Inspector Frank Dodsler. He and his men investigate the crime scene and also visit Stuart at Lenny's home. Stuart returns immediately from a business trip. He is brought in to identify Lenny's body at the morgue. He breaks down and tells Dodsler about Brian's past. Brian sneaks into the morgue and finds Lenny's body. He solemnly touches her face and collects a hair sample. The cops inspect the parking garage where Lenny left her car. Brian gets a scan on the car's GPS and sees that Lenny went to the gas station prior to her death. He goes to the gas station and sneaks into the security room to play a video. He sees footage of Lenny being snatched by a masked man and thrown into a van. One of the men has a star-like tattoo on his hand. Two detectives stop at the same gas station and learn that Brian was there. They find him in the security room and arrest him. Brian goes in calmly. The detectives inform Dodsler of their arrest of Brian, but since Dodsler has just followed up on Brian's past, he knows that Brian is setting them up. In the backseat of the police cruiser, Brian carefully uncuffs himself and knocks out one cop while forcing the other to keep driving. The detectives chase Brian as he takes control of the cruiser. This leads them through a garage where the cruiser ends up falling down an elevator shaft. The car explodes, but Brian escapes. Dodsler talks to Brian on the phone and tells him to stand down since everyone is going to be looking for him. Brian responds, "Good luck." Brian visits his friend Sam, to whom he gave the sample to, and also informs him of what happened to Lenore. Sam stands by Brian and is willing to help him. He tells Sam he wants to go to the funeral. Lenore's funeral takes place, with everyone going to console Kim and Stuart. Sam goes over to Kim and tells her to follow her predictable schedule. He motions to the button on his lapel, which is a hidden camera. Kim knows her dad is watching and she smiles. Kim leaves Stuart's home when she sees that he kept too many guards around. One detective follows Kim as she goes to the convenience store to get her smoothie drink. She finds the one she wants and finds a note on it that says, "Drink me now." She drinks it all in one standing. She then goes to school and feels nauseous during class. She goes to the bathroom and is pulled into a stall by Brian. They embrace and he gives her a serum to counter what he put in the drink to make her nauseous. Kim comes clean about the pregnancy. With little time, Brian tells Kim he'll find the real culprits right before the detectives burst in. Brian is already gone by then. While driving away, Brian is pursued by some Russian thugs. They run him off the road, causing his car to explode. One goon comments on going to get drunk. Brian gets a man to let him drive his car to follow the goons to the liquor store. Brian beats the thugs all around the store until they are all knocked out, save for one last man, the man with the tattoo on his hand. Brian takes him down and orders him to tell him who sent him. The man says he would rather die than tell, so he grabs Brian's gun, puts it in his mouth, and pulls the trigger. Brian locates Stewart, who retreated to a beach house. He knows Stewart sent the thugs, and Brian takes Stewart to another area and waterboards him for information. Stewart was involved in a bad business deal with Oleg Malenkov, and Lenny unfortunately became a victim of his when Stewart failed to return the man his money. He was merely counting on Brian to find out about the situation and to utilize his killing skills to make the problem disappear. Stewart also tells Brian that Malenkov is a trained killer that joined the Army and Special Forces, and that he is just as good at killing as Brian. Together with Kim, Sam, and other friends of Brian's, they have Stewart set up a meeting with Malenkov. Malenkov arranges for them to meet at a building downtown. Brian gets his opening to run through the building, beating up and killing all of Malenkov's goons before finding the man himself in his apartment. The two fight each other, with Malenkov nearly shooting Brian, until Brian takes the gun from him and shoots him twice. Brian approaches Malenkov to deliver the final shot, until Malenkov says they were played by the same man, Stewart. Brian leaves Malenkov to die slowly. In Sam's van, Kim sees some texts from Lenore's phone that mention going to a specific location. She texts Brian and then tries to contact him on his earpiece. Stewart knows what's happening, so he grabs Kim and shoots Sam in the neck. Stewart flees with Kim, calls his pilot, and orders him to prepare his plane for immediate departure. The cops find the van with Sam wounded but alive. Brian realizes Kim is in trouble, and he hijacks a car to go after her and Stewart. He tracks her location and sees she's headed for the airport. The cops track Brian and follow him. At the airport, Stewart gets his private plane, ready to take off with him and Kim. The plane's nose gear lifts off and Brian drives onto the runway and knocks off the nose gear, causing the pilot to abort takeoff. Stewart emerges from the plane with Kim at gunpoint. She manages to escape him, leaving him to Brian. Brian figures out that Stewart tried to get away with Lenore's murder and beats him senseless. Before Brian can kill Stewart, they hear the police sirens getting closer. Stewart says Brian can't kill him now, and when Brian tries to prove him wrong, he looks over to Kim, who shakes her head and urges him not to. Brian figures that Stewart will probably get a good lawyer and be out of jail in a few years, and that's when Brian will get him. He knocks Stewart out and leaves him to get arrested. Brian meets with Dodsler in his office. Dodsler says he knew Brian was innocent because he found the bagels in his apartment, and they were still warm. Dodsler figured out that Brian wouldn't have bought bagels while he was planning to kill his ex-wife. They part ways and Dodsler closes Brian's files. Brian joins Kim and Jamie on a pier. He tells the two of them whatever they decide, he supports them. Kim says that if it's a girl, they will name her after Lenore. Brian liked their choice. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy at the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.